Welcome to the 56th annual Cushing-Gavin Awards celebration. It gives me great pleasure to introduce fellow Guild Board member Therese DeMuzio, who will sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, our home, sweet home. Congratulations to all the 2022 Gavin Cushing awardees, and happy holidays to all.
Thank you, Therese, for such a beautiful rendition. It is now my honor to be the first to congratulate our 4 awardees: Sister Marie Tess Brown, Miles Calvey, John Folcarelli, and Nicole Horberg Decter. We give special thanks to our presenting sponsors. Our platinum sponsors are Archdiocese of Boston, International Union of Electrical Workers Local 2222, Ironworkers District Council, Massachusetts Nurses Association, MacDonald, Lamond, and Canzanieri, New England Mechanical Contractors Association, Pipefitters Local 537, Siegel Reutman LLP, Ulico, the Massachusetts Teachers Association. We are delighted now to welcome the Archbishop of Boston, His Eminence, Sean Cardinal O'Malley.
Allow me to share my prayerful greetings as you gather for the Archdiocese of Boston Labor Guild's Cushing-Gavin Awards. Although I am not able to be with you this evening, be assured of my appreciation for your advocacy on behalf of all who contribute to our society through their work. It is good to know that Sister Marie-Therese Brown is being honored tonight in recognition of her lifelong dedication to social justice, equity, and respect for all people, whatever their situation in life. Sister's unshakable belief in the God-given dignity of every woman, man, and child calls us to work together for the day when all people will recognize that truth. Thank you, Sister, for your mission, your ministry, and your inspiration. We also congratulate Miles Calvey, John Folcarelli, and Nicole Horberg Decter, as they are recognized for their support for the Labor Guild and their efforts to bring labor and management together in productive working relationships. This evening, we also express our appreciation to Father Mark Fallon, who this year assumed the role of Executive Director of the Labor Guild. succeeding David Kowalski. Father Mark's leadership is a blessing for the members of the Guild. The past year has seen economic shifts that have not occurred in decades. In this time of rapid change and significant disparity, with extraordinary wealth and benefits being aggregated to an ever smaller group of people, advocacy for fair labor practices and equitable distribution are of great importance for a sustainable, productive, and just society. Your support of the Labor Guild helps us to continue that mission, to ensure that working men and women are represented and included in planning for the workplace. May this evening be a time for renewing long-standing friendships and establishing new relationships. And may the intercession of St. Joseph, the worker, guide our efforts going forward. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Cardinal Sean, for your warm welcome and generous remarks. Now, I'd like to introduce Father Brian Hare, Secretary for Health and Human Services at the Archdiocese of Boston. Father Hare will share with us the importance of our labor school in the context of the theology of Catholic social teaching.
Good evening. Let me begin by adding my welcome to all who are attending this annual event of the Labor Guild. You have been welcomed previously, but let me add my welcome to it. This event is sponsored annually by the Labor Guild, and I always think it has perfect timing. We lodge it between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thanksgiving, the time when the nation becomes conscious and needs to be conscious of the gifts that God has given us and what human labor and ingenuity have done with the raw material God provides in creation and built this extraordinary nation. We give thanks at Thanksgiving. At Christmas, we are asked to open our minds and hearts, not only to those close to us, as we will in our families, friends, and relatives, but open our minds and hearts to those who struggle in this great nation, who, in spite of the enormous prosperity of the nation, know the burden of poverty. Many are American citizens. Some are immigrants newly arrived at our shores. And both of them need the compassion and openness of our country as a whole. And the Labor Guild's event helps us to give thanks, and it reminds us that we are called to demonstrate our thanks by compassion and care for others. The Archdiocese sponsors the Labor Guild as one way that it seeks to provide a contribution to the wider society of our cities, our Commonwealth, and our country. Pope Francis has reminded us that religious communities are those who are to build bridges, not walls, building bridges that relate people across lines of race, ethnicity, nationality, age, and across lines of those who have fostered and celebrate the goodness of this society, and those who are in search of these same gifts. The Labor Guild is founded on a conviction that we are to be a church that contributes to the wider society. And one of the ways we do this, building bridges, is the way we join together labor, management, and civil society in the awards that we give each year. These awards are meant to remind all of us of the service of many of us in this society. And I congratulate the awardees this night, for they have been judged over many years of service to have made precisely the contribution to the wider good of society that the Labor Guild exists to foster. The Guild itself is based on Catholic social teaching, the conviction that a religious faith is not only about worship, is not only about gathering a community. It is about reaching out beyond our communities of faith to celebrate and to broaden the goodness of the society and the relationships within it. Catholic social teaching has basic ideas that the Labor Guild promotes: the dignity of the human person, the rights and duties of every person, the way we relate to each other in terms of what we need and how we respond to the needs of others. The idea of the common good. The common good means that in order for any of us to flourish, all of us have to have a sense not only of our own individual interest, but the good of the society itself, socially, politically, economically. Today, many, understandably, lament the divisions among us in American society at this time. But these divisions are made by human mistakes, and they are not inevitable. We gather this night to be reminded that the fabric of a society is built on the dignity of the person, the justice that each person has a right to, and the need for all of us to cooperate to build that just civil society of the common good. For this night, remembering that we've just given thanks and looking forward to the great gift and day of Christmas, we this evening commit ourselves, as the Labor Guild has tried to do so for decades, commit ourselves to building and shaping the common good of this society in our cities and our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Cardinal O'Malley and Father Hare. We are pleased that Bob Rizzi, president of the Norfolk County Central Labor Council, and the Bricklayers and Allied Craftsmen Local 3, and Christine Carmody, executive vice president for human resources for the Eversource, are serving as our co-chairs.
Hello, I am Chris Carmody, Executive Vice President of Human Resources and Information Technology at Eversource Energy. I am pleased to be the Management Co-Chair of this year's Cushing-Gavin Awards, along with my Labor Co-Chair, Bob Rizzi. For the last 56 years, the Labor Guild has been recognizing practitioners for excellence in labor management relations. In 2021, Eversource was pleased to have our CEO and President, Joe Nolan, honored by the Guild as the Management Award winner. As in the past, this year's awardees represent the highest standards of moral integrity, professional competence, and concern for the community. Congratulations to Tess Brown, Miles Calvey, John Folcarelli, and Nicole Horberg-Dechter for this well-deserved and prestigious recognition. I'm sure you are all honored to join such an esteemed group of prior Cushing-Gavin Award winners. Eversource is proud of our positive and productive working relationships with our unions. Having more than half our workforce throughout Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire represented by locals within the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Utility Workers Union of America, and United Steelworkers, we know that our represented employees are the backbone of our success. Our employees' contributions every day ensure a safe and reliable electric and gas system for our customers, and as first responders, they are always at the ready to restore service to customers in emergencies and storms, often in very challenging conditions, and when their own families may be without power. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our union leadership partners. From the IBEW, Vice President Mike Monahan and International Representative Tyler Eaton. From the UWUA, Local 369 President Dan Larry, and formerly Craig Pinkham, who is now National Vice President. And from the USW, Sub-District Director Steve Finnegan, Local 12004 President Kathy LaFlash, and Local 12026 Business Manager John Bonapani. These union leaders are critical to our ongoing success. They work actively with our management, including Chris Hall, Eversource's Vice President of Labor Relations on my team, to understand and address challenges and issues of mutual interest to both the union and the company. This willingness to collaborate, to identify and develop solutions together is a critical ingredient for success for the company and the union. Since its inception in 1945, the Labor Guild has played a major role in the labor management arena to foster positive labor management relations by providing important services, including its School of Labor Management Relations, practitioner-led education, networking events, leadership opportunities, and even private conference space. Eversource has been a long-standing supporter of the Cushing-Gavin Awards annual event, which is the Guild's largest fundraiser. I encourage all of you to support the important work of the Labor Guild, which will enable them to continue to offer services that build a bright future for labor management relationships and ultimately thriving businesses, workplaces, families, and communities. Finally, I'd like to thank the Guild for its work and its recognition of this evening's awardees. Congratulations and thanks to each of you for your longstanding commitment to improving labor management relations throughout Massachusetts.
Thank you, Bob and Christine. We are grateful for your co-chairing this virtual event. Now I am delighted to introduce the President of the Labor Guild, Lisa Field.
Good evening. On behalf of the Guild's Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you all to this event and to thank you for your support. Your support is crucial to our continued success. A big thank you to everyone who's involved in tonight's event. Our CGA Labor Co-Chair, Bob Rizzi, and our Management Co-Chair, Christine Carmody. Our CGA committee members, Stephen Afanato, Alyssa Cadillac, Martin Callahan, Kevin Cotter, Stephen Finnegan, Tom Kerr, and Jack Wolf. Thanks to Diana Painter and Matt from Free Thought for providing all of the support. A special thanks to the glue that holds us together, our staff, Mary Gendralis and Maureen Callahan. Also a thank you to our Board of Directors, Father Mark Fallon, Father Brian Hare, and Cardinal O'Malley. We are very excited to announce that we will be launching an updated website that will enable us to better serve our labor management community with new features for membership, fundraising, and online educational content. Be on the lookout for these exciting developments in early 2023. Also look at our website, laborguild.com, for 3 great health and safety workshops with our community partners, MassCosh and Massachusetts Nurses Association. As Article 1 of the Labor Guild's 1945 Charter states, the Guild promotes justice and good order in area workplaces by inspiring, motivating, and helping men and women to act with conscience, know-how, and courage in labor management relations. Our 4 awardees serve as inspiration to us all. Each has developed a lifetime of accomplishments, and we are thrilled to celebrate those accomplishments tonight. Sister Tess, Miles, John, and Nicole, our sincerest congratulations. Thank you for your dedication and service.
So just a few weeks ago, I was able to reach Sister Tess on the telephone, which is remarkable in itself, and wanted to share this honor from members of the Labor Guild. So of course she began speaking of other people. One, a dear friend of ours, Hermana Jacinta Millan, the Sisters of the Holy Cross, and then our honored colleague Dolores Huerta of the farm workers. At some point I was able to bring the focus back that in fact previous winners of the Cushing-Gavin Award had in fact selected Sister Tess for this recognition. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, sister. Well deserved.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Father, and everyone. When Father called me, I was really speechless. I said, no, I really am again. Everyone knows I have lots of words, but so, don't know where to start. Well, we'll be coming together December the 2nd, today, which is the anniversary of the church women who were martyred in El Salvador 42 years ago. Maura, Ita, Dorothy, and Jean. Sister Mary Noel, Ursuline's sister, and Jean Donovan. And they joined St. Oscar Romero and so many others, countless ones, in El Salvador and Guatemala who were murdered. Many were labor union organizers and catechists, as well as elderly and children. And this award reminds me that as long as I have breath, I can't give up. None of us can. I thank the Labor Guild and the board and nominating committee, those who nominated me. And also I'm thinking of the ones who keep me going, especially the folks at the Labor Resource Center at UMass Boston, the South Asia Worker Center, the Wild Women of Wild, my own congregation, Sister of Charity of Nazareth, my parish, and the folks here who keep me grounded in faith and action at St. Catherine Drexel. I keep trying to find words, even though I wrote some down, and I keep thinking. But I'm wondering too, one of the things is, I'm really saddened that many young people aren't aware of the legacy of the church as far as Catholic social justice, of us being on the picket lines. And one of the things I was thinking as I was preparing, the prophet Isaiah says, "Seek the peace and the prosperity of the city to which you have been exiled or to which you have been sent. Pray to God for it, for if it prospers, you too will prosper." And that's the thing we need to remember. Where are we located? Where are we watching this presentation tonight? Maybe you're on your couch. Maybe you're with some friends. Maybe some of you might even be on a picket line somewhere. But how do we, older folks, have the backs of Gen X, of the Gen Z, the millennium? We put labels on one another, but whatever these younger folks call themselves, so many are really interested and want action. They're about social justice, carrying the church and our world forward, whether it's climate change or the intersectionality with workers' rights, with immigration, so many things. We spoke about what happened 42 years ago. And we had people crossing the borders. In fact, one of the things I pulled out was Sister Caroline Messina and I when we were the farm workers in Texas on the border. And on the anniversary, it was like the 3rd anniversary, right before that, one of the trailers carrying people that the coyotes had there, 4 young people and 1 father were killed. They were all in their teenage. And we see the same thing happening again today. We can have capital, goods, money, crossing the borders, but people can't cross borders. So what are we going to be doing? How do we keep going forward? We know who essential workers now because of COVID. So when last did you or I thank an essential worker? And if you're seated at the table, it's God's table. There's room for everybody at the table. And if I'm at the table and you're at the table, we got to make sure there's room for the others who aren't there yet. It's not your or my table. And for the essential workers who pick our food as we come into the holiday season, we have to remember who in the packing sheds, who at the start didn't have PPE or whatever. If you're an essential worker out there or a young person, as Shirley Chisholm said, you bring your own chair. And together we have to keep going forward. So thanks again for the presentation. And I'm so grateful to the people who I got to know as a young person. Today, I'm looking for people like Monsignor Jack Egan, Monsignor Baroni. They call him the labor priest. Or are we telling our young people about James Reeb and Jonathan Daniels with connections to Massachusetts who were killed in the civil rights struggle? Do we talk about Sister Dolores Harrell, Sister Antonia Ebo, Caroline Messina, as I mentioned before, our own Sis Wendelin, who recently passed, the president of our SCN community. But wherever we are and whoever we are, you and I have to have the backs of the younger generation, just as others had our backs or took us to this meeting or to that meeting. The first picket line that I was on, Sister Pat Dreiger took me on it. She became later head of the National Farm Worker Ministry. And we used to tease that here this white woman from suburban Milwaukee who had never met people of color till she went to college, she was taking this woman, this 2/3 woman, taking me to my first picket line. And so when we see young people out there with their clipboards, collecting for voter rights and saying climate change is about you too, we need to support them. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the river. We shall not be moved. Thank you. Keep the fight going, and we got to continue in Father Ed's name.
Good evening. As we greet our friends in December, we're actually recording this on the eve of Veterans Day, and a number of friends were asking me how I might have finished up the job that I enjoyed so much with the number of years of being a Veterans Administration chaplain. And in fact, being the director of the Labor Guild was really there on a very short list of anything. It's such a privilege to meet such wonderful individuals, and we'd like to recognize our brother Miles Calvi for the Labor Lord, business manager for the Electrical Workers 2222, a son of Somerville, a graduate of Boston College, long active in the labor community. And President Lisa Field has joined me for this occasion. President Field.
Congratulations, Miles.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really nice. It's an honor to look at this with my name on it. I look at the previous recipients, and it's a Hall of Fame of Massachusetts labor, so I really feel honored. I thank you. I thank you for doing that. I thank you for
Our privilege.
It's something I'll cherish. So thank you. Awards, it's a miscarriage of justice when you put a name on it, because it's always a team award. And I don't consider myself great at many things, but one great thing that I've been able to do is hire incredible staff people. So I came into this particular job in 1988 as a guy who knew everything and knew nothing. And I just learned from some great people who had been in the business, both within the phone company and within labor in Massachusetts. We are just blessed with some of the greatest labor people that you can imagine in this business that are all right here in Massachusetts. And I was able to come through the process and look at the list, and two great guys that come immediately to my memory is Arthur Osborne, who was the president of Mass AFL-CIO when I came on the AFL in 1990, and succeeded by Joe Fahey. And they were just two guys that just were phenomenal to me. They always let me speak out at the meetings, not knowing what I was talking about. And at the end of the meeting, they might very gently would say to me, "You probably should curb those remarks." But they were just two great people that I really respected, and they brought you through it. Through the years, going through and meeting people. And it's really no coincidence that we've got now so many national presidents that are coming out of Massachusetts, because we had one great thing in common, and that was this brotherhood. If anybody had a problem, everybody came. I came into this job in 1988. We had a knockdown strike with New England Telephone that eventually became NYNEX in 1989. It turned out to be 17 weeks in 22 over healthcare. And the guy said I was all of 38 years old at that strike. And I just couldn't get over the fact that despite making all kinds of money as a company in New England Tel, they wanted not only to have members for the first time start paying for health care, but really cut back on the retiree health care. And if anybody in this world is blessed, it's Miles Calley for a whole bunch of reasons. Beginning, first of all, I joined the phone company in 1968, and my mentors were all participants in either Korean or World War II. And they bestowed on me this incredible beatitude of, you've got to help other people. And they just really instilled upon you how great you feel. In the labor business, it epitomizes it at the highest level. We are just so lucky to get paid to help people. We do it every day. The normal person gets excited if they help somebody once a week, once a month, maybe a couple times a year. We get to help people every single day in this job. And it's the fulfillment that's just unbelievable. And I feel so great looking back at these World War II, these Korean guys. I started in the company at $56 a week as a technician. And I remember like it was yesterday when I put my name up on the overtime list to work on Saturday. One of the guys came over to me and says, you can't work Saturday because Jack Brennan's moving. You got to help him move. Another time, you can't work this weekend because Jerry's got to get his house painted. And I kind of looked up. I didn't know how to paint, but they just taught me that it's not about you, kid. It's about other people, and you'll feel much better about it. And then I come into this business. The first time I took a stool was 1970, and I wasn't even 20 years old yet. And I just said, Jesus, this is great. You really can go in and help people. And it's just been instilled in me. And I just, I thank God to get that opportunity. Not everybody can do this. And then look around. I look at the great things. It just drives me crazy when I hear this crazy stuff about labor people doing this, somebody stealing this. That's not normal. That's so abnormal that it doesn't work like that. I don't think there's anybody that I've run into that you haven't picked up the phone and called that isn't there to help you. And whether they know you or don't know you, or you're part of this union, you're part of this local, you're part of this, we don't have to know your name, we're here. And it really helps. And it just, whether it's elections, whether it's fundraisers, whether you're affiliated, whether you're not affiliated, it's all about it. One of the great things that happened to me in 1989 when we had the strike, we started a coalition with CWA and the IBW. And now, if you went to a bargaining table with now Verizon, you wouldn't know who's IBW and who's CWA because everybody had the same common thread, and that is, let's get a great contract. Let's get everybody going on the same page. And again, it's not about you. It's about that. My biggest issue right now, and I put myself on the line by doing this, I go to the retirees and say to them, while I'm here, you ain't paying for health care. While I'm here, you're going to keep health care. And it's a big deal. We had a strike back 4 years ago. Oh, God, now it's 6 years ago. The strike was actually 2016. We did a extension in 2018. And we were Tom Perez, who was the Secretary of Labor then. And before you start, we kind of have a sit down on what the issues are. So it was about healthcare again, specifically about retiree healthcare. And I try to impose upon Tom, their only issue here, I said, they just brought in $37 billion in profit with a B. And I said, all they're telling us is the reason they want to do this is because their competitors are doing it. Comcast, non-union, all non-union companies. I said, well, that's why they have a union. We got to do that. And then Lowell McAdam, the CEO of Verizon, gave us credibility by sitting across from us with the Secretary of Labor by saying that, hey, why should we pay for retiree health care if our competitors don't? And in this age, and I've watched the trend as we continue with this, it's no longer we got to make a certain amount of money. It's simply, well, if our competitors do it, we have to do it, which is so wrong. It's just not right on taking that thing. People have lost the sense of A, how important a job is to somebody, B, how important it is to allow them to get enough to pay in benefits to raise a family with them, and see the camaraderie. I'm into the age now that my retirees all go, everybody I work with is all retired. And it's nice to see that they have stability, they have security in doing that, and they still have to pay for healthcare. Everybody's paying for healthcare, but not as deep as a company would want, a company that brings in billions of dollars. And it's something ethically wrong. We've lost the foundation of what religion is all about, and the foundation of helping everybody, faith, hope, and charity. And I always tell people, look, you got to have faith, there's always going to be hope if you want to go forward. That takes away all the thing. But start with charity. Everything else does that. My uncle came from Ireland in 1950, and he never left. And he used to say to me all the time, "Look, the 10 Commandments is the 10 Commandments, but live by the Beatitudes. That's what you live by." And he said, if you live by the Beatitudes, A, they're easy to understand. B, that's what people recognize you. My mother lived on the great quote of Maya Angelou, when she said, Maya Angelou once said that, people will never remember what you said. People will never remember what you did, but they'll always remember on how you made them feel. So I always say to people, look, if anything else, I want you to at least say that I tried to help you. And if anything else, I want you to feel comfortable. I just said it earlier. If you're in my local and I don't know you, you fell out of the sky last night. I just, I find it amazing. And my attitude is simply, you pay me. So the least I can do is give you time. You give people time, whether it's your kids or anybody else, it's a different deal. They have more respect for you. They're more comfortable with you. And that's basically what it is. We're all I live in funeral homes. I look at people in the casket and I say, oh my God, this poor guy would meet me on Monday morning and start complaining because he just heard that our big deal in the phone company was 3 nights and a Saturday overtime. He said, I just heard they're not going to work 3 nights and a Saturday. And holy mackerel, I had one member, God rest his soul, he just lived for overtime. And he dropped dead. And we're at the funeral home over in Del Rosso in Medford. The first thing his wife said to me, he's not going to have to worry about overtime now. And that's how we've got to get it back to, we're all going to end up in the same place. And we've got to be able to look at somebody and say, hey, we did our best. But when it's all about greed, it doesn't work.
We can hear the justice in every syllable. So, wow,
I
congratulations.
can't thank you all enough. And like I said, to look at this, to join this honor roll is just the highest compliment I can get. So thank you again. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I would say that to be actually in the employ of the Labor Guild, more or less I get paid for attending meetings, but then to meet such wonderful leaders in the labor management community is just a remarkable privilege. And this evening for our management recognition this year for the Cushing-Gavin Awards, we have with us John Focarelli, Rhode Island native who's now with Student Transportation of America. And John has been attentive to labor needs throughout his career in transportation and healthcare, and now with Student Transportation. Again, it's a tremendous privilege on behalf of all the members of the Labor Guild and previous awardees of the Cushing-Gavin to present John with this recognition, well deserved.
Thank you. Sure. So I just have a few remarks to say thank you, but I want to start off with one of my favorite quotes from the book of Habakkuk, not a well-known book, but though the fig tree does not bud and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful. I will be joyful in God, my Savior. I'm honored and humbled to receive the Cushing-Gavin Award. I attribute my ability to achieve this award, first of all, to my wife, Patricia, and my children, Meg, Jack, Francesca, and Anna, who have supported me throughout my career. I must also thank many people that I've worked with over the years, and most notably my father, who was Lieutenant Governor of Rhode Island from 1964 to 1966, who was a labor attorney and labor leader, who was actually jailed twice for contempt over a workers' strike in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. But he taught me by example the value of honesty and fairness, no matter what the cost. There are so many others to mention, but among them I learned from one of the previous Cushing-Gavin Award winners, Al Glaserman, who was at Edwards and Angel when I first started there, which is now Lock Lord. Throughout my career, I've attempted to understand those who sat across the table from me. One of the best relationships I had was at Stewart Healthcare with 1199 Healthcare Workers East, where we had a partnership focused on our mutual interests and of resolving problems and negotiating fair and beneficial labor agreements. When I met with 1199, I would always wear a purple tie. That was to demonstrate my understanding of their interests and causes. I worked with Eileen Norton, a longtime member of the Guild, on ensuring a free and fair representation election at one of our hospitals for the Mass Nurses Association. I have always found cooperation whenever possible to be more productive than contention. At all negotiations, I've always shaken hands, pre-pandemic at least, with the negotiating committee after a long bargaining session, even when doing so could be difficult after a heated session. At a Greater Rhode Island Lyra chapter meeting in March, we were fortunate enough to have Marty Walsh, Secretary of Labor, as our guest speaker. During his talk, after recounting some of the more contentious negotiations he had been involved in, he said there is always a path forward. Throughout my career, I have always been grounded in that tenet. There's no problem that cannot be overcome when great minds work together to solve their differences. No matter what the circumstances, there is always reason to rejoice.
For the custom of the Cushing-Gavin Awards, each year management attorneys and labor attorneys alternate for a selection committee, who this year have managed to find a member of the Bar Association who introduces herself as a social movement attorney. So we're just so very pleased to present this award to Nicole Dechters, Siegel-Reutemann, experience with AFL-CIO, the building trades, the gas line workers, immigrant workers and workers' centers, and on behalf of President Lisa Field, our board, and the many, many members of the Labor Guild community, please accept this from me.
Thank you so much. So I want to start by thanking the Guild for this incredible award. I'm truly honored and humbled. This award to me is so symbolic of all of the work that the Guild does to build better labor management relations and to celebrate practitioners both on the labor and the management side who have really dedicated their lives to labor and making the world a better place for workers and the workplaces they're in. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, actually right outside in Skokie, and I feel like I have lived in many ways all of the benefits of the labor movement. My parents were among the first generation in both their families to go to college, and I was the first lawyer on either side of the family, joining my stepmother. I feel particularly lucky to represent workers. America is a tough place, and it's a place where workers, no matter what their inherent dignity, often get lost in the shuffle. They often face adversity, just trying to make their way in the world and trying to have a better life. What we do at Siegel-Reutemann is to advance workplace justice in every conceivable way, through the courts, through the labor board, through the state, through writing legislation, and through advocacy on a day-to-day basis. I'm very lucky to have partners and colleagues at Siegel-Reutemann who share this vision and share this dream, and to make the world a better place with them every day. I also want to thank my clients who have been thought partners and justice partners every day that I work with them. whether it is working on a project labor agreement to advance the lives of literally thousands of workers in meeting their needs for good jobs with good benefits, and bringing a new generation of workers into Boston's building trades, or working on an individual arbitration to address a workplace wrong. I know that the unions I work with and their leaders are committed to workers' rights and to dignity at work. I'd also like to thank my family. They have been incredible influences on my life and my work. My husband, Jonathan, has been my partner for 25 years and has given me the strength and energy to do this work. And my girls, Lila and Ariel, have supported me the entire way and are truly an inspiration to me in working to make this world a better place. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
Good evening. I'm Eileen Norton. Kevin Carter and I co-chair the CGA committee. We want to thank all of you for attending this evening, and we want to thank you for your continued support over the years for the Labor Guild. We are most grateful. And now it is my great honor to introduce to you someone who we all know and love, Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh. After the Secretary's remarks, Father Fallon will conclude the program with a benediction. Thank you all and hope to see you all next year.
To Reverend Fallon and all the members of the Labor Guild, I want to say welcome. This is Marty Walsh, the Secretary of Labor of the United States of America. I want to thank everyone at the Labor Guild for the amazing work that you do, but I especially want to thank and recognize the folks that are being recognized tonight for the outstanding accomplishments they've had in labor and management and collectively working together in all that you do. And I wish you so much more success in 2023.
Well, if a raffle prize has been awarded, that's usually a sign that, sadly, the moment to take our leave of one another approaches. There's no surprise with plenty of preparation for an event that is so important financially to our labor school, as well as our ability as the Labor Guild to provide that respectful forum for important questions and issues in the labor management arena. We begin with our thanks to Cardinal Sean O'Malley and Father Brian Hare of the Archdiocese for joining us this evening as they continue the ecclesiastical sponsorship of the School of Industrial Relations, now in its 70th year. Secretary of Labor Marty Walsh has remembered us again, and Paul McCarthy has guided us as MC. Our platinum sponsors, of course, are unions and locals who believe that the Labor School is an important way to invest in their members and so prepare for their own future. Our thanks to them. Co-chairs Christine Carmody and Bob Rizzi represent both sides of the labor management dialogue. We're in their debt. Well, President Lisa Field and our board of directors have directed resources to our preparations. Office managers Maureen Callahan and Mary Gendrolis have once again proved tireless in coordinating all of our preparations. This all really begins as we're folding up the tables and chairs from the Labor Day picnic. Many, many thanks. We know that Cardinal Richard Cushing prevailed upon the learned arbitrator and Holy Cross faculty member, Father Mortimer Gavin, to guide the School of Industrial Relations in 1962. The first few years, Father Mort was struck by the commitment of labor school students and guild members to the wider community. And so he approached the Cardinal in turn, proposing that a handful of trade unionists be recognized each year. So the event that we celebrated tonight really dates to 1967. Consider, if you will, the wisdom of Father Mort that remains with us today. To recognize a small group of leaders in the community, the yield is actually a remarkable sample or cross-section of the labor management community today. For example, our dear friend Sister Tess Brown mentions the interfaith worker justice movement, and by the way, also the UMass Boston Labor Resource Center, where she teaches, and by the way, the South Asian Workers Center, and by the way, St. Catherine Drexel Parish. Counselor Nicole Decter of Selig Reutemann has been counsel to the AFL, the building trades unions, the gas line workers, and by the way, Metro West Workers Center in Framingham, and the Wage Theft Combating Justice at Work. Miles Calvi, as business manager and financial secretary to the Electrical Workers 2222, suggests that any member of his union not personally known to him must have just arrived from interplanetary space travel. He speaks readily of his deep conviction that trade unionism is based upon community. And Miles just has wonderful examples of this. Meanwhile, John Folcarelli, Vice President of Employee Relations for Student Transportation of America, shared both direct and more subtle ways to show his lived respect for the labor movement, even as he was in a bargaining session for the management side. Such a remarkable group of Cushing-Gavin honorees, and so we're grateful also for our friend Rick Riley and the team he gathered in September. The honorees who we've mentioned this evening speak to the diversity and commitment of Labor Guild members and the wider community. And so in our gratitude to so many, particularly those who have persevered to sustain our labor school during the COVID protocols, we come to this moment this evening. We can't really be certain what our course offerings will look like in the future, yet we at the Guild have rebuilt our website so as to reach students near and far with quality labor education from our incredible Guild faculty during our 70th anniversary year and in the future. Please know we could not have afforded this significant financial investment without the donations and demonstrated commitment of so many in our audience tonight. As with many friends of the Guild who conclude the Passover meal each spring with the exhortation next year in Jerusalem, we truly hope that we will be gathered again together under the same roof next December for our Cushing-Gavin Awards. Que el Señor nos bendiga durante las ferias Año Nuevo que ya viene. May God truly bless all of us for the holidays and New Year. A pleasant evening and weekend to you and yours. On behalf of everyone at the Guild, good night.